I want to talk about this trend that seems to be going on primarily in Christian communities. I don't really like to talk about Christians all that much. No offence if you're a Christian, don't have a problem with you. I have a problem with those that are the type of Christian that like to put others down, that like to rule in fear, preach, as in forced conversion, as in, we want you to follow our religion because you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn in eternal damnation. That kind of vibe. No, I don't agree with that. And those sorts of people are very prevalent on YouTube. And it's unavoidable. Because if you put the term witch or pagan into YouTube, you will find these people. You will not just find witches and pagans. And they cannot just live and let live, okay, as a whole. And if you were raised in a place that had strict religious conditioning, if your community is like this and you're trying to see outside of that, then you're just going to get sucked back in and brainwashed back in out of fear. And yes, I do believe that these videos, if you look them up on YouTube, it's a tactic. It's a way of these people trying to scare others into their belief. Now, ultimately, you can be a Christian, you can be a pagan, you can be a Jew, a Muslim, a Sikh, a Hindu, a Buddhist. Doesn't matter. Whatever your belief, it is yours and it's personal to you. What I will say is, if there was one right answer, there would be no need for all these different religions. We would all be living in some sort of utopia and we would all have the same idea. But quite frankly, we don't and we never will. And why? Because religion in general, not just one, it's man-made. And that's fine, because we are human and we are going to have our theories on things. But what's not fine is forcing others to think how you think. And that can work the same for a pagan. If a pagan was doing that, I would say the same thing. But it just so happens that it's mainly Christians, at least in the Western world, on YouTube. If you look it up, that's a thing, it's a trend. So this video, I'm going to be discussing it a bit more. I don't really want to, but I feel I have to put people's minds at rest, sort of thing, because I do have a big audience that comes from the USA, which is where this is primarily an issue, although it's not just the USA, of course not, but big audience that comes from there, that are from communities that are like Baptist and born again Christian and evangelical. Yep. We need to discuss this, okay? Why it's wrong and why it's just another trend. So let's get into it. I just want to start off by saying welcome and welcome back. I'm Sarah, that divination witch. This channel is a safe space, so you can ask questions, you can share your opinion. We're all different, but we don't judge and we don't tolerate crap. Everything here is civil, all right? So we can agree to disagree on things, that's fine. I promote that, actually. But yeah, if you want to join, hit subscribe, it's free. And if you would like to support me and the channel and help me continue to make videos, all of my links are in the description. I do offer different types of readings. I also have Patreon. I teach a lot of different things on there about tarot, Hecate, magic. We're also doing a path working, if that's your interest. Go check it out. I'd be grateful because it helps me keep doing this. So thank you. So what is the problem with this, apart from what I've already stated, that yes, it is a brainwashing tactic. It's something that is meant to scare people. If you are, say, trying to break away from, a strictly religious community or family or background, and you're trying to make your own mind up in the world, you may hear one of these videos, one of these accounts, and become scared shitless, basically. You're scared back into the belief. It is a common trend within witchcraft. You see, just to quickly say, a pagan is not always a witch, and a witch is not always a pagan. Witchcraft is something separate from paganism, okay? A pagan is, I guess, a religious belief. It's a big umbrella term. A lot of these things are neo-paganism. It's reconstructed ancient beliefs, polytheism in different deities, different energies. But not everyone who is a pagan believes in witchcraft or does witchcraft. Witchcraft can be secular. You can actually get Christian witches. You can get witches of all flavours and varieties, okay? So they're not mutually exclusive, but in this context, with these sorts of videos, they kind of are, because it's ex-witch calls back to Jesus, oh, Jesus save me. No, that's fear-mongering. Jesus, or Yeshua, I've got nothing against him. He was a man. He was actually a mystic. And he did preach his way, his brand of things, and that's fine, whatever. You want to follow that, you follow that. If you want to believe he's the son of God, some sort of demigod, or God, well, you do that. That's your prerogative, but it's not one size fits all. I could apply the same thing to Hecate, which is my main goddess, because Hecate did save my life. There was a time in my life I didn't want to be here, trigger warning, but that's how it was. I didn't even know who the hell Hecate was. It was she who came to me. Whether you want to give God the name Hecate, Jesus, whatever, you could apply it to anything. It isn't a case of Jesus doing that. This is humans. This is brainwashing, and this is fear-mongering to get people to follow their stuff. Now, the people with these claims, they never truly stepped out of that mindset. Even if they say they did, who am I to say that you weren't a witch or you weren't a pagan or whatever? But if you were truly open-minded, truly exploring these sorts of beliefs, you would have deconditioned that mindset, that polarity. Because in modern religion, not just Christianity, but mainly the Abrahamic ones, there is this duality, this straight down the middle, good versus evil, this rhetoric of you've got to be one or the other. When in reality, that is not the case, and it never was. The pagan gods, any pagan god, any archetype, they are capable of both. They were not in a dual system, okay? And even angels and demons, if you want to call them that, originally, because a lot of these beings were once gods that were demonized or renamed, they are capable of both. An angel isn't all fluffy love and light. An angel can be destructive. A demon isn't all evil. A demon can be healing. But to think outside of that, for these people, they don't. So even if they started to explore something like that, it's either genuine, that they started to explore it, couldn't understand, got scared themselves by somebody else more than likely, or whatever, and went running back to what they know. It's a comfort zone. That's how us humans work. It's the common thing. It depends on who you are, where you're from. If you were from a Middle Eastern country, for example, same scenario, you would be frightened to explore anything outside of Islam, more than likely, because that will be what your family was born into, what you're used to. And given, depending on the country, and everything that's going on in the world, especially that area of the world, sad, very sad. And I'm not trying to comment on that, but depending on which country, where you're from, I mean, you might not have freedom to explore such thought. You're told what to do, you're doing it. And you wouldn't dare do anything else, even if you might think it inside, you wouldn't dare show it in the way us Westerners do, because you don't have that freedom to show it. And it's not just the Middle East, it's places in Africa like that, places in the Far East. We are pretty privileged in the Western world, especially UK, USA, Europe, on the whole, that we have a sort of religious freedom, really. But even though that's the case, there are still pockets of communities within these areas of the world that are trying to get rid of that, you know. Now, if we go back in time to when Christianity was on the rise, a lot of places across the world, it was forced conversion. Roman Empire, they went from hating Christianity to adopting that and forcing people to convert. But there was other areas of the world, like Scandinavia and Britain, some areas of Britain, where it was slowly synchronized with pagan beliefs and things were slowly phased out. It wasn't all bloodshed, it wasn't always like that. But even back then, apart from the places that it was bloodshed, that was like convert or die, so that's just a more extreme brand of what's going on right now. But whereas the other synchronicity, say, I don't know, ancient Scandinavia, when they were transitioning from paganism into a Christianity mindset, it wasn't forced conversion, it was more open-mindedness and live and let live, and it just naturally seemed to happen. But you still went along with the flow, you still went along with your community. If your king or your jarl was converting to Christianity, then you had to follow suit, really. You might not have been fire and brimstone about it, but you had to. This happened a lot in England. A lot of the old churches were once pagan temples. There's one in Yorkshire that I want to go to for the channel. I think it's called the All Saints Church. It was a temple to Odin, and it was converted into a Christian church. That's the way it was then, but you still went along with the flow. But now it's different because we're so, at least in the West, multicultural, and freedom of speech, freedom of connection to an extent. You can make your own mind up. But it's still that rhetoric of communities trying to brainwash you to be a sheep, basically, to go along with them. Now, this brand of Christianity, these brands of things, it's hateful, to be honest. Even if you want to believe in Jesus and Christianity and all of that, that's fine. But you don't have to be so hateful about it. Their ideology is fire and brimstone. I think of Doreen Virtue. She is just one of these people. She's not everyone. She's arguably one of the most famous. She was a love and lighter, a new age person, but she never fully deconditioned. She was raised in Christian Science, which is pretty strict, that I'm aware, in their own brand of Christianity. She then went to New Age thought and movement, and she invented a lot of the thoughts that we have today, like angel numbers come from her, for an example. And she did her thing, made her money, made her mark, decided she's going back to Christianity, and now she rams it down everyone's throat, sort of thing, in one of these hateful kind of ways. Now, each their own. She's going to have her audience doing that, whatever. You stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine. But she's just an example. The ideology is hateful. She's gone after people she used to be friends with. She has said things about Dolores Cannon, as an example. Dolores Cannon, if you don't know who she is, she was also somebody in New Age thought. I quite like some of her takes. I don't fully believe it, but each their own. She was a hypnotist that discovered past life aggression, and she taught a lot about it. People still follow her stuff. And Doreen Virtue knew Dolores and was friendly with her, and she's no longer with us, Dolores, but Doreen's basically said, yeah, she'll be in hell. It was in one of the podcasts I watched not long ago, because she's got a podcast, and it's like, really? That's just so hateful. They believe in that ideology from listening to the likes of Doreen and others. It's not just her, but they truly, with conviction, believe that that's being kind, saying stuff like that. Everyone who doesn't think like them will be going to hell, essentially. What sort of religion is that? What sort of answer is that? It's just nonsense to me. It's absolute nonsense, And I honestly think that these people were never truly pagan at all, or a witch, or a spiritual person. I just don't think they truly were. Because if you have truly, changed your thoughts and beliefs, then you wouldn't be spewing this hate. You wouldn't be spewing that. And truly, it's just a problem. It's just a trend. A lot of these things get views. More views than us spiritual people do, on the whole. Because it's sensationalised. Because even though a lot of them like to play the victim, they are the majority in the Western world, especially USA and stuff. They are the majority. More people are Christian than other, but that's changing. People are waking up. They're waking up to the bullshit. It's not that Jesus himself was bad, or the principles of the teachings are bad, but they've been changed so much. They can't even agree on one way to worship. That's the right way. So, yeah, it's just not. Each their own, but it isn't the one right answer. And to persecute somebody else for not believing in the same thing as you, to me, that goes against everything somebody like Yeshua stood for. But I wanted to discuss it because, like I say, I've got a big audience from that area of the world, and I just want to reassure you that they're ruling in fear. They're doing it on purpose. It's a trend. It gets views. They want to scare you on purpose. You don't have to be a witch. You don't have to be a pagan. Believe what you feel is right. There is no one right answer, okay? I will never put somebody down for being Christian even. It's this brand of it that I don't like, And it could be a Muslim doing the same, or someone of another religion doing the same, and I still wouldn't agree, But it's just because we are in the Western world, that's the majority, and that's what we see. But there are similar problems in other areas of the world, of course there are. But don't let these people get in your head about it. Take a step back. Think, why are there so many different religions then? If they're truly right, if that's the one right answer, then why was Islam needed? Why did it branch off from Judaism in the first place? Then even, where does Judaism come from? Because that comes from paganism originally. Where do these things come from? Why do they think that way? We've got whole ass countries that worship in different ways, like Japan. I mean, there will be Christians in Japan, but Shintoism and Buddhism are the main religions. Why is that then? Why haven't they found the one right answer? Why is everyone not a Christian if that's the one right answer? Because it's not, essentially. Okay, I hope this helped. I hope it put some people's minds at ease. I just felt I needed to say something about it. Don't stress. Okay. If you liked it, hit subscribe. Check the channel for more stuff. Until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.